We're back with part 2 on what are the components that ground us in humility. If you missed part 1, go back and listen to part 1 and then come back. Again, this was responding to a very specific request about what is humility. And yes, you can be humble and be confident and appreciate your God-given and natural talents. Last time, we covered self-awareness, empathy, and gratitude. This time, we're going to look at openness, selflessness, and acceptance of feedback. If you notice you resist collaborating or having other people give you their thoughts or ideas about a topic or about a project you're working on, you might be struggling with some humility. Openness is that willingness to entertain, to question, to play, in a sense, with other data other than where you've landed or what you've already decided is true. You know you're not open when you're saying to yourself in your head, I already know. Or maybe you're saying it out loud as well. I know for most of us, we have certain things that we've worked on all of our lives, or we happen to be experts, maybe in a field or a line of study. And that's fantastic. You can be an expert without holding your expertise in a way that is arrogant, in a way that says, I already know everything there is to know. Now, listening to someone else, asking other people for their perspective and inviting other people's contribution does not mean that you have to accept every single thing you hear. But the willingness to be open to it, to open your heart to receive the gift of another human being in whatever form they give it, is a marker of humility. It is a way to say, you and I, we have the same importance. I'm not more important than you. My thoughts aren't more important. That I'm willing to receive from you. I'm willing to even ask you to pour into my life just the same way that I enjoy pouring into your life. Openness is right next to self-awareness, which we talked about last time. And again, it is that willingness to hold with an open hand new information, things that you hear, maybe something that you learn that previously you would have said, nope, I don't like that, or I don't agree with that. But could you decide to be open about it? Could you decide to hold it in a way that you're willing to consider it? What if it's 10% true? Would you want to know? Could there be resource in it for you? And that's what openness does. It unlocks the possibility that even if there's any small percentage of learning available, we're open to it. Check out my video on aggressive independence. It's a way that we push people away to continually prove we're right about something. And it is the opposite of humility. Openness invites us into a space where we are listening and we're attentive to people around us. And when that happens, we get the chance to practice the next character quality, which is selflessness. I'm inviting you to consider the way that you hold your talents and hold your gifts. Is it in a way that they need to constantly be on display? Do they need to be elevated in order for you to feel like you're doing a good job or that you're accomplishing something? Selflessness allows us to shift the spotlight to someone else, or maybe turn the spotlight off altogether and be willing to be with somebody and serve them in a variety of ways. Now, sometimes we serve people by being honest with them. Sometimes we serve people by listening to them. Sometimes we serve people by allowing them to step up in our organization and maybe make a mistake, fail and go again because it's part of their own development, their own growth and learning. When we're selfless, we're not constantly thinking about what am I getting out of this? We are in a generative space where we're also thinking, how can I give to this person? How can I create or co-create in this space? And what does selflessness look like in your context? At home, at work, in your community? Where can you up your selflessness game and think about what does this other person need and how can I support them? How can I champion them in their own growth in this moment? Now notice if you're listening to this and in your mind, you're making little check marks like, well, all right, that makes sense. I could do that for them, and then later they could do this other thing for me. or I was selfless 3 times in a row and I didn't get anything back. Okay. Once you start scorekeeping, you've lost your humility. You've lost it. I have a whole video on scorekeeping that I think will open up some more ways to see how the scorekeeping itself really undermines growth and joy in life. But it definitely takes you right out of selflessness. Now we're putting in some more building blocks. Right? We've looked at openness, selflessness, and that leads to the willingness to accept feedback. And I'm going to go even further to say a willingness to ask for and accept feedback. When was the last time you asked for feedback? When was the last time feedback was offered to you and you accepted it without yeah, but, or without explaining why this thing happened the way that it did, or maybe reframing something so they really understood what you actually meant, versus just being humble and receiving the feedback, paying attention. Wow, this was the impact I had on this person. Is that important to me? That's the sign of humility. When people resist feedback, when they boomerang it back, when they make it about blame, or, well, you did this, or yeah, but it's all designed to deflect and to invalidate feedback. And when we're in that space, we're protecting, we're proving, our pride is on high alert. What would it look like just to receive feedback, to be grateful for it, to thank people for it authentically, and to really authentically consider it, to say, wow, I've never looked at it that way. I didn't know I was coming across like that. I had no idea that's what this meant to you when I said or did this. Receiving feedback, accepting feedback when it comes your way is our final, and I think one of the biggest and easiest to see hallmarks of humility. How do you respond when feedback comes your way? What happens internally? What happens externally? What do you imagine people are giving you the feedback for? Can you imagine a positive intention on their part? And even if they don't have a positive intention, can you still receive it as an opportunity for growth and for learning and for your own character development? My husband and I have a conversation about the sink. And apparently when I wash my face at night, I get water on the tile outside of the bathroom sink. And if I don't wipe up that water, then he interprets that as not caring about him, which I get, because he believes that water needs to be wiped up. And the feedback he gives me is that I'm messy or that I don't care about him. Now, I didn't realize that the water on the tile meant that to him. And now I know that. And it's super helpful feedback. I don't have to agree with it. I personally do not care if there's water there or not, because I figure it'll dry up. But that's not the point. The point is I've accepted the feedback because now I see from his perspective. So there's some empathy there. I'll wipe it up, even if I don't feel like it, because that's selfless. That's an opportunity to serve him in something small that for him is big. It's important. So sometimes when we get the feedback that we don't understand or we think it's not a big deal, we can choose actually to act on it, to make it a big deal because the person is a big deal. If feedback is one particular area that you notice you struggle with, I've got a lot of videos on feedback because it's a pretty important topic. So check those out as well. So as we're wrapping up part 2, if you checked out part 1, we went through self-awareness, empathy, and gratitude. And in this video, we've covered openness, selflessness, and acceptance of feedback. That's a lot. So look at all those 6 components and look at your life. Which ones are you stronger in? Which one do you need a little more work in? And remember, these are dynamics. It's not as if someday you're going to land on, I am now perpetually humble. If you think that, you're not, okay? But we can build up our muscles in that area. We can prefer others to ourselves at the same time as appreciating our own gifts and abilities. And humility and confidence can 100% live together, because confidence is moving forward with faith and trust that what I'm bringing is a gift to be given. And how am I holding that gift? Am I holding it in a way that I'm accepting feedback, that I'm empathetically paying attention, that I'm grateful for the people that I'm with? Or am I holding that gift, that natural inclination or talent that I have, in a way that says, this is what I'm good at, this is why I'm right, and I've already done this a million times? It's an attitude of heart. It's a way of thinking and seeing the world that lets other people know they're also just as important. If this series was helpful for you, if it opened up some new ways of thinking or new ways of being in the world, then please share, like, ring the bell, make a comment. I would love to hear from you.